My name is Hans Weiss, and I'm on the board of the college for many years now.
Okay. Now, how long have you been in America?
I've been in America since 1950. I came in, I thought in December, but 50 is my date, I say.
And where did you come from?
I come from Slovakia. Okay. And Slovakia, one time was Hungary. And we were German settlers from the 13th century.
Your family goes back to 13th century?
Our people come back from the 3rd century, and what happened was they needed, when the Hungarians invaded the country there, it was a no man's land at that time, in the 9th century, and so they were, they were riding horses, that's all they knew, So I invited German settlers to build the infrastructure and to build the houses and churches and so forth, And so then the Czechs invaded the country, which is Slovakia, where I come from now, my country, and then it became Czechoslovakia after 1914. Okay. And so then we lived there still, first under Hungary, then we lived under Czechoslovakia, then Slovakia became independent, and we lived independent as a Slovakian. But the king of Hungary, Stephen I, the Holy King, Stephen, the first Christian, he made a promise to the people who came in that could keep their own language, and they could keep their own tradition, so long as they're good people, how to say. And that's exactly what happened. I don't speak any other language except German. It's a kind of low German language, but that's what we were. And then, after the Nazi war, came to an end, but before even that, because we were German-speaking people, we had to flee because of for the communists. They figured, well, since we are Germans, we were actually Slovak citizens, not German citizens. I was never a German citizen, So we fled to near the Prague region, and because in Prague region they had about 6 million German people living there, So we figured we were isolated villages. We would be safer there in the village in the Prague region because of the 6 million Germans. So after the war came to an end, then we wanted to go back home. So we packed our bags. And I'm talking about a lot of people, I talk about 10,000 people, not just us, it was others, And so we packed up on the train, we were on a coal wagon. They put us on a coal wagon. We lived on a coal wagon outdoors for 5 weeks, rain or shine. I still remember my father found a shot airplane on the field. He went down there. He took some skin off, and he put it up above my mother and I. I'm the only son. But then, as we came to Slovakia, instead of going home, first of all, we were about maybe 100 kilometers from my home village, and so that took my father away from us. And they said he's going to come back right away. He never came back. He
just disappeared?
He disappeared. And so my mother and I, and my grandfather was now in charge, and he found somebody, a wagon, a horse and a buggy, to bring us home. And I still remember so it was by a station, rail station, and then we took a cart, horse and buggy, and we came outdoors. It was, as I said, it was not far from our village. And our village we supposed to go to the left, but we had to go to the right. They checked us out, we were so much speaking. And so there was a military camp, a Slovak military camp. They put us in the camp. There was a lot of people there. And after we got in there, they locked the thing behind us. It was the first time we were incarcerated, And we were there for a week. And then we went by foot 80 kilometers to a concentration camp, which was in Milwaukee. And we traveled again by there was only two wagons. We had partisans came with us. You know what the partisans are, right?
No, tell us, please.
Well, the partisans are people that they were communists, how to say, with guns, how to say. So they took us to the concentration camp. In the way they protected us, on the other way, they were very, very harsh to us. People who couldn't walk, they got beaten up. How to say. So we finally, after two and a half days traveling, we stayed overnight in a school, and we got locked up in the concentration camp. It was prior to when the Nazis were there. It was a Jewish camp. And then it became a concentration camp for the German-speaking people, And then in we were there for 1 year, and my father was finally came back after about 6 months, 7 months. He was also in a jail someplace in a different city. He escaped, and then he finally came to us, and he came to us in the concentration camp, obviously, So we were to deport to Germany. So 1 year in the camp, we finally they put a train together, and we came to East Germany, which was still a communist country at that time, So in East Germany, I'm going to make it short. In East Germany, and I was an artist all my life, I say. I sold my first painting, my first commission when I was 13 years of age. And
Did you train in school? Or
not yet. No. At that time, in the village, who trains? We were farmers. My father was a shoemaker. Besides, I say, art. I think I was the only art kid in town. I was an artist. Kids were playing outside. I was painting inside. So we then finally now I came to East Germany, and now it's time for me. Now, I was a young teenager then. It was time for me to go to school. So I wanted to go to art school, but we had no money, everything. We lost everything. We lost the whole thing. And so our landlord where we lived, one day he walked by the kitchen. We were sitting like this, my mother and my father. We didn't know what to do with us because back home, say, we were farmers, and we did everything ourselves. I mean, we made all the wagons. We didn't have anybody to say, okay, do this and this for us. We didn't have any other trade but farming, except my father was a shoemaker. Besides farming, So the man said, my father said, we don't know what to do with Hans. We don't know any trade. He says, why? Why don't you go down the street? He says, there's a machine shop there. They're hiring people now as a trainee for a machinist. My father went down there, and I became a machinist, I see. And about a year and a half in that as a machinist, I really enjoyed it because I could work with my hands, We escaped to West Germany. And in West Germany, I still want to go to school there, but I finished my training at the Mercedes-Benz factory, where I made the cars, And I finished my training there, and right about 3 months afterwards, we had my mother had an aunt in Manchester, and she invited us to come to America. We lived in the cellar in the washroom. That's where we lived. There was no room in Germany at that time. And I must tell you one thing right now, since I am the subject here. In our region, in our village, since the 1800s and I say 80s, about 70% of all we had 160 homes. And from the 160 homes, we had 650 people living there. And from the 160 people, about 70% came to America since 1850. So all the townspeople here, when you look at the telephone book, you see those names. They all come from a village, The Demkos, the Haberens, some became doctors, some became lawyers, and so forth, So she invited us, and we came to Manchester. And
how old were you when you arrived?
The what?
How old were you when you came to Manchester?
How old?
Teenager?
Yeah, I was 18 when I came here. Yeah, I left right on my birthday. And so when I came here, you won't believe this. Going through all this mess, I went through, and it was on December 19th of 1949. And in Manchester, they have those lights already across the main street, Yes. I looked at it. I thought it ended up in heaven, or paradise. I'd never seen this in my whole life. Then we came to my aunt's house. That was my uncle. I came to my aunt's house, and then she made sausages, and I was seasick all the way. So we came to after I could eat about as many as I want to, and after I ate about I think I must have been like 25. Then I knew I was in paradise, and that's how it started. But the first thing that, of course, I didn't speak the English at all. I still don't actually, And so the first thing I did, I signed up the art school. That was my first time ever. I was 18. It was the Hartford Art School, and I studied there under many good people. It was mostly at nights because I had to work during the day. So I worked mostly on portraits, of course, art landscapes also. So right now I have painted about 1,500 paintings. But I painted, don't forget, I painted all through all this happening. I painted through my business. I painted, and then I have about, right now I just finished one today. It's about 160 portraits, And then after I finished, not finished, you never finish art school, you can go forever, And so then my friend of mine says, and I got to be a foreman in a small shop, and I was good at that. I really enjoyed my work, But unfortunately, the gentleman who I worked for, he was very old. He had no idea what he was doing. His partner quit, so I took his thing, And then I could not get anywhere with him, See, I'm smart and this and this. At that time, modern, not now. there was no instruments at that time, these computers. So a friend of mine who I dealt business with, he says, "Why don't you go on your own business?" I says, "I don't have any money, He says, "I give it to you." I tell you what, Hans, he says, "I give you $18,000, and you get it when you're ready. So get your machines ready, we pay as you go along, and then $18,000 you're on your own." And that's exactly what I did as part-time. So I got the $18,000, not right away, but as I went along, I was in East Hartford in the garage. I put machines in there. I knew my stuff very well, because I was a tool and die maker. Plus the fact, I also went to engineering school, So I have a diploma on that also, engineering, I say designing, So after I got all set, and so we got going, and I had no people, nothing in the shop. This was scary as hell. I must not. This was scary. Here I come from a busy place, we dealt with Pratt & Whitney. All of a sudden, silent. Every time I walked to the bathroom, I cleaned up my floor afterwards. I made footsteps. So, and then, of course, salesmen came and wanted to sell me some material, some sheet metal. Of course, I didn't have any work, but what I did, I closed the window of my little office, a tiny little office, and had all machines running. So when they came in, they thought I have a lot of people. I said, very, very good, but I actually had nothing there, I never showed them anything because if they would come in there, they see nothing, they see ghosts. And then I tell you, you have to learn to survive, okay? And then finally, as one salesman says, I get you to Hamilton Standard. Hamilton Standard. I wasn't sure what it was, but I got it. So I got to Hamilton Standard, and in order to get work from Hamilton Standard, you have to get Order Pratt, even Pratt. You have to get a source. They send a man out to check, make sure that I'm able to do what I said I do. I say. So anyhow, So the guy says, well, I called him up on the phone. He says, I see you on Thursday, which was a Monday from Thursday. So he says, I come out there. So I called my friend. He says, hey, his name is Bill. He was a nice guy. He says, Bill, he says, look, he says, the guy's coming here. I have nobody here. Could you send some people over and bring some parts with you? I mean, I had to do everything I could. I knew I could do it as soon as I have a job, So people came there, because now you finally have people working. Guy never showed up. So they went for 5 weeks. After the 5th week, the people thought I was nuts, I mean, I can believe that, All of a sudden, he's outside at the door, the window. I could see him. I called Bill. He says, Bill, send me some people over. So as I heard the car coming in the meantime, I got busy. I showed him, I wrote a manual for the business. I mean, I had a real business manual and everything. And so he came in, and people there, chips there and everything. I don't make chips, we made in sheet metal. Well, anyhow, he gave me the okay. And after that, I got the first job. About 2 weeks later, I got the first job, and I was on my way. And then we got into the aerospace industry from Hamilton. They made the suits. We made all the buckles for the astronauts. I designed every one of them. Then we made an antenna for RCA. The antenna for RCA is like an umbrella. You see them on the moon, And this was the first antenna which I made that when people were on the moon, the first astronaut on the moon that took the antenna along, there was like a tripod to pull it and busted open, With that first antenna, you seen through my antenna, you seen the first picture from the moon. When you do this, at that time, it just worked. Today, it's historical, Every time I say that, it says, touch me. So we were very successful, Then we added on right away. I added on about two times, And then finally, I always wanted to come to Manchester because Manchester was my town, Although in the meantime, I was busy with the Cheney Technical School. I was also president from the Tool and Die Association, so we had a lot of contact with the Cheney Technical. Obviously, they were in this kind of business, And then finally, we got what was I saying? We got to Manchester, and then I bought the Burr building. The Burr Nursery, I've heard of them. Burr Nursery, it was a 35,000 square foot building. We bought it. I bought it, and we had to repair it and everything. There was no floor and nothing. And we stayed there for about maybe 7-8 years. And I needed a new building. Our growth was fantastic. Let's say if you want to do a good job, you get it. There's no question about it, So in 1983. I bought a property, about 10 acres on Parker Street. And we moved then, and a couple of years later, so a year later, we moved to Parker Street. And today, the company is GE Aviation, which is a $1 billion outfit, So they own now about 5 buildings, I mean, there was an article on the paper just the other day. It says, from moms to pops. I was the mom. So that's how it came there. And then,
what was the building? I mean, what did your building say? You talked about 50 years. Didn't you mention that?
The what?
You mentioned 50 years ago you had started.
Well, 50 years. That was me.
Yeah.
That was exactly. I see what you mean. In 1963, that's when I started, and that's when the school started. I had no idea about the school at that time. Obviously, That's why they called it 50 years ago, and the newspaper says that's when it started. Was it me? And then of course, we had some people came to see me. Johnson, what's his name?
Bill Johnson?
Bill Johnson came. Yeah, I happen to know him. So he came to see me. And who can say no to this guy? I mean, he was such a persuader, And so he came to see me. He says, "Son," he says, "how about joining the Manchester Community College?" I say, "Yeah, that is fine." And a few years later, of course, I sold it. That was out of this business. And after I sold it, I went to New York to to school immediately, the Art Students League in New York. Now, if you've not heard of it, Art Students League is one of the nicest schools. As a matter of fact, very, very, Norman Rockwell came out of there, you know how to say. But anyhow, so we had a meeting with Johnson and past president here, you know. And so we talked and had a little money, you know how to say. So they're begging me, you know how it is, begging always. I'm still giving to them for a lot of beggars. So I gave the school $100,000, see, for the occasion, because I feel education is the most important part. And I always say, I give this to a lot of people. Let them pay taxes too, not just me, you know how to say. Let them. I like to make them taxpayers rather than tax takers. You know how to say. To me, that's a very, very important part. You know. Mm-hmm. So, and from then on in, you know, then I was on the board. You know, and I'm still on the board today. You know, that's how I got to Manchester Community College, and I enjoy it very much. You know how to say.
You were pretty much involved with the art program well before the Hans Weiss Gallery.
Yeah.
Right? Used to help out over here.
Well, I did in the school here. I did about 25 portraits. You know, they're all hanging at the meeting room when you go at the.
There's a portrait of him.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I did. As a matter of fact,
he looks better on the portrait than he does in the
he does. He had. I had a few less wrinkles, you know, but that's okay. So I still do it today, you know. Every time they have these wine tasting, you know. Eh? So the people who are in charge, who sponsor, I do a portrait for them, and then I do it for nothing, you know how to say.
So how does it feel when you walk into the Hans Weiss Gallery here?
The one.
How does it feel to walk into the art gallery that bears your name?
I was just there just a minute ago, you know. It is fantastic, you know. A lot of people sometimes say, "Oh, Hans, I was in your gallery." I says, "I don't remember. I guess I have on my own, you know." I said, "I don't remember." Oh, then I know it's this one here, you know. So I have a gallery myself on Oakland Street, you know. I have a museum on Oakland Street, which is about my people from back home. I built a interior house. You know, it's a couple, 3 rooms, you know. I see.
To show what the homes look like.
To see what it was like, you know. People cannot imagine how we only had 1 room, you know. See, in our village, you know. In the room you made, you lived and you died, you know. That's it. And so I have the same thing in my village, in my museum, you know. I say.
When you first came to America, could you ever imagine how your life would turn out?
How's one?
When you first arrived in America to live with your aunt, could you ever imagine how your life would turn out?
No. But I tell you, if you really have the guts, and the know-how you have to have, you know, and I always say, people, if they want to go into business, there's 3 things they got to have. They got to have that knowledge. They got to have a lot of guts, and they got to have money. These 3 things. If you fail with one of these, you never make it. I mean, it's not just that I say it, but I guess it's proven. You know how to say. You have to have these things. You know, hey. And the kids today too. I think if they really, really settle down, you know. But they have to see. I had a vision. Someday I'm going to be an artist. And because the vision never came anyway, but it was diverted into other things. But it took me through to these bad times, you know how to say. And that's why I say, I always, even to my grandchildren, I say, have a vision. Think what you want to do, you know. You may not reach that point, but it gets you into a lot of doors will open on the way, you know how to say. That's how I feel, you know how to say. And so the art is fantastic here, you know, and they have the president here is wonderful, you know. She is just I think the since she is here, I think the whole thing was stepped up by a couple of notches, you know. I told her I made a portrait too, by the way, you know.
And she has a background in the arts.
Yes.
So you've accomplished a great deal in your life. What more do you want to do?
As much as I can. I tell you, I want to paint portraits. I'm going to do other things yet. Right now, I'm in the portrait business. I don't know why, but I just finished one. As I told Chuck, that I did one. I did all the presidents. I did the president from Easton, and then I did the president from Bridgewater College, and because of that, I got a new one to do now. There was a couple of people from the alumni from Bridgewater. You know where Bridgewater College is,
in
right?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, yeah. So the men who I'm doing now, and it's a man and a woman on one piece that's 3 feet high, and they were teachers there. They went to school. He became a teacher, but then he went to the business with the atomic scrap, and he became really. So he gave $2 million to the school. Well, I gave only $100,000 to the school, you know. But I was told I'm one of the biggest spender around here. I was, you know. I mean, I still do, you know. I say in a way, you know. And what I really want to do is I really want to still do my artwork, and as long as I can, I will do the artwork. As long as I can, as long as I'm healthy, I will do it all my life, you know. And I said, my art you can find in books, you can find in galleries, you can find in museums, everywhere, you know. I say, 100, you know, I do a lot of copies, you know, from my artwork, Fame. I give a lot of these out. I sold one of them is just sold on the wine auction. One of the pieces I did for Manchester sold for $5,000, you know. I see. So my art is getting that one I'm doing now. I'm getting 20,000 for it, you know. I say, you know. So, you know, people recognize, you know, but I'm not here to say, oh my God, I'm this and this and this, you know. I just going to do my work, and that's all there's to it, you know. And I feel the happiest guy in the world that I can do that. You know, I was very fortunate that I had this, you know. I say, my business, the machine business, got me going, because what happened, because I was in engineering department in the designing. Or in my company, because I knew art, my business really never laid off any people. When I sold the business, I had 200 people. Because what happened is the guy saying, "Oh, what does it look like?" You know, the print, you know. Well, then I made a sketch. Oh, that right away it went better. You know, I testified in the Senate. You know, I say. A few years ago, because I belonged to the Machining and Tool Association, and locally, and the main office was in Washington. So I went there and I testified actually before 15 senators, you know, I see, about the lack of machinists we have in this country, you know, because they wanted to build a plane, at that time, they wanted to build a brand new plane, you know, I say. And we said that's impossible. We don't have the work. And the small shops, really, they do a lot of work, believe me, you know. You take all this, if you don't hold all the small shops in the country here, you couldn't survive in the big ones, you know, I say. The big ones are there, good for the small ones, you know, but anyhow. But I testified, and my testimony is in a book about this stick, you know, it's marked in there, you know, it's located, they wrote it in, you know, I say. So I don't know what else is going to come up. I didn't expect this to be here too.
If someone were to ask you what kind of place is Manchester Community College, what would you tell them about?
I think it's an excellent place. I think it's one of the nicest, and I know because when I came here, there was nothing, that building wasn't here, you know. If we would have stayed the same as before, you would have never seen an excellent college, you know. The same as me. If I didn't build a brand new factory with 70,000 square foot, well, you couldn't survive in a small shop. You have to always think ahead, you know. You have to add addition, you have to add on, you have to keep going. I always say, life is like when you of course I say life is like a wheelbarrow. If you don't push it, it don't go away. It's on the thing there. But on the other hand, it's like you have a train. One train is going. If you don't keep going, while somebody's going to follow you, going to pass you, And that's why I think you have to always keep going, you know, I say. That's all. But it's excellent school. Everybody knows about the school, you know. And whoever I talk to, I send them over here.
Anything else that you want to talk about?
Unless you have $1 million, I take it now.
Chuck, bring out the money. Bring out the money, Chuck. He's got it at the back.
Thank you, Chuck.
This is very good. I mean, it's very inspiring.
Well, that's all I can tell you.
No, it's a wonderful story.
Yeah,
you have a lot of animation.
Well, you know, I wrote a book on this too, you know, and by writing a book, I wrote 3 books actually. Writing a book, you have to memorize some of the stuff, you know. I go back when the world started, when the first the Big Bang. That's how I started, you know. And then I came, but just small sections, you know. I see, to get the, I want to give the people an idea that you live only once on this earth, you know. Hey, and because you live on this earth, you should cherish it because it's a gift from God or from nature. It doesn't matter, you know. I see, but you should cherish what you have while you're here. If you don't do it, what good is it? You know, a lot of people don't do nothing when they get old to say, what did I do? I want to make this, but it's too late. I always said, and I said that, as a kid, I had a 5-year, as a child, I remember I was 10 years old. If I live for 5 more years, I will do this and this. After the 5 more years, I'll do this. And that got me going, you know, I say. But I say, and my saying on the plaque here, what I have is life is like a wheelbarrow. If you don't push it, it doesn't go. So it's simple as that, you know.
It's very good. It's excellent. Good?
Thank you.